At home, thank you so much for staying tuned. With the last segment that you saw, that was with our great friend Mark Sills, and he talked to you about the honorary service ceremony that's going to be taking place in September, and that is for the Browns Boys Club legends that he listed earlier. So again, we've had our birthday shouts out tonight, and tonight I want to share something that I wrote. I think it was last year, but I'm interested in sharing it with you because, as I mentioned, the city of Wilmington is going to be having an event, and it is related to being our brother's keeper. And while not having the details on that, it took me back to something that I wrote, which is called "Am I My Brother's Reaper?" And I know that may sound as if it is going to have a negative connotation to it. However, that was not the spirit in which I wrote this piece. I wrote this piece from a place of taking self-inventory. And a lot of the things that I write are not out of judgment of others. A lot of the things that I write and share are from my own self-inventories, things that I ask myself, things that I think about. So before I get into sharing this piece with you, I want to share an announcement which was given to me by Mr. Holloway. And this announcement is in regards to a farmer's market that is going to be held at the Powell Center in Garfield Park every Thursday, and there's also jazz every Thursday at the Powell, and that is from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock p.m., and again, that's on Thursday. And just in case I misinterpreted that information and you need correct information, if this is not accurate, please call Ms. Josie Roy at 302-377-7983. And also, I want to share that there will be a LAPA dance. LAPA, Least Access Preservation Association. They are the ones who manage this studio and make it possible to bring this content to you tonight. LAPA, please support LAPA. That's September the 26th at the Powell Center in Wilmington. And that is going to be from 6 to 11 p.m. And again, I'm grateful to Mr. Holloway to allow me to share that information with you. The piece that I wrote and that I was talking about is called "Am I My Brother's Reaper?" And I'll read this and try to be as clear as I can. Am I my brother's reaper? In a world in which people are becoming more inclined to interact with each other by means of electronic communication, one must wonder if there are any consequences for the humanity that may be lost in translation. Are we settling for communication with no contact or contact with no communication? Is there apathy hiding behind the guise of interactive social media and virtual reality? Have we bought into the illusion that we can live in a fantasy world or in a tiny digital space wherein we can be the only one who matters? Are we becoming out of touch with the reality of the need for human relationships? I mean, how is it possible to not care about the pain and suffering that's going on in so many of our family, friends' lives? How can we claim to love the Lord whom we have not seen and hate our brother whom we see daily or used to see daily? Am I my brother's keeper, or am I my brother's reaper? What has happened to our family ties? I mean, have they been forever severed and replaced with animosity and indifference? When did it become popular and acceptable to dehumanize or demonize each other at every turn? Witnessing on behalf of one another has been turned into something negative in a counterculture filled with death, denigration, and destruction. Killing is not creative, nor is the glorifying of violence the voice of a people. Whether we realize it or not, no man or woman is an island. We need each other. If not now, then later. Parents, it is up to us to teach our children well and to wrap our arms around them before the long arm of the law snatches them up, or even worse, the barrel of a gun takes them out. They are supposed to be able to count on us for protection, for guidance, and positive examples. If every other word out of our mouths is vile and filled with anger, mistrust, jealousy, and violent infusions of cursing and self-loathing, then how can we expect to rear well-adjusted and successful individuals who possess the social skills necessary to not only survive, but also to thrive? Our children are suffering and dying. As the saying goes, what we have here is a failure to communicate. I'm sorry to report that technology cannot replace the elements contained in your human soul. Compassion, empathy, sympathy, respect, and love. Not L-U-V, L-O-V-E, love. Without these and other human qualities, one may never become his brother's keeper and just might end up being his brother's reaper. So that is what I wanted to share with you this evening. And as we all have been seeing, that our community is critically ill right now, in desperate need of healing. And I believe that yes, there is leadership responsibility that is going to have to play a role in solving some of the things that have plagued our city. But there's also going to be personal responsibility on the part of you and on the part of me that must play a role in healing our communities. During the discussion that I was watching with Norman, and he had you calling in and weighing in on what needed to be done to address the issues of violence and things like that. And I heard some good ideals that were shared about jobs being needed. I agree with that. There were calls or suggestions made to bring in the National Guard. I'm not sure about that. But one of the other things that I see as a private citizen that can be instrumental in helping to balance our communities and make them safer and more positive is there is a need for reconnecting with our neighbors. You know, we have to get away from being so self-centered. I've seen this time and time again in what are supposed to be neighborhoods where one neighbor has a need and no one offers any help. A person may be sick and unable to cut their grass, and out of a whole community, no one's willing to offer assistance. Isolation, where your only concern is your own household. That's not going to heal the community. That's not going to bring people together. And you wonder why things are going in a negative direction. But when people tend to become so absorbed And it may be human nature, but people have become so absorbed and self-centered. So one of the things that we possibly could do is start spending a little more time getting to know our neighbors as we used to do. There was always neighborhood moms. I know when I was growing up, parents were able to discipline and correct everyone else's children in the neighborhood. And so therefore, our children were always under a watchful eye. If not from their own parents, believe me, from Mr. Taylor that lived across the street, from Mrs. Jones that lived down the block. And even cross community wise, I lived for a time in Rose Hill. Okay, all of the parents in Rose Hill had a watchful eye over those kids. But if I crossed Route 9 or Newcastle Avenue and went into Rose Gate, guess what? I still had eyes on me. And if I went down over to Garfield Park, still under watchful eyes. And that is what is needed today. Just simply looking out for each other. But if the parents are not even introducing themselves to one another, how are you going to have a neighborhood mom or pop when you don't even know your neighbor? So that's something that I'm just weighing in on, because I'm, number one, not a politician. So I'm not a part of a systemic solution. You know, maybe one day, if God leads me that way, I will become a part of the systemic solution. However, tonight I'm speaking to you as a private citizen and a concerned citizen, and just sharing with you not necessarily what is the solution, but what may perhaps be a part of a greater solution. And I thank God, though, for those who have been placed in positions of leadership. But here's the thing. When you're placed in a position of leadership, that doesn't mean that you get carte blanche to do whatever you want to do if it affects the constituency. I believe that a healthy constituent and leadership relationship involves communication and a consensus before things are decided. And I'm always encouraged when I see constituents invited to the table as policies are being made that will impact them. And I give credit where credit is due. That does occur, because I believe that the voice of the people is very important, and it has to be heard. And one of the things that I feel grateful for being a part of is being a part of the media, which allows the voice of the people to be heard. Because I thank you for interacting with Shauna and for interacting with me. And on behalf of the other program hosts, we thank you for your participation in our various programs and making them viable. We don't take it for granted that you sit down, you spend your time with us, you're watching us, you're supporting our programs through your viewership and spreading the word about, our programs, because I hear the feedback and I feel the love and I give it back to you. And you guys make it very easy to sit here and share information with you, because Wilmington is, in Delaware, it's a small town. We live in a small town. And this is not Hollywood, this is not Los Angeles, this is Wilmington, where you can't walk down the street and not see somebody that you know. But once again, what I think is very important is for us to engage with one another. It's simply not enough to get yours, as they say. Chase that dollar, and if you get it at the end of the day, that's all that we concerned with. I don't think that is going to heal the city of Wilmington. Yes, we all need to earn a living, but what good is earning a living when the place in which you live, you can't safely go out and spend the money that you earn, you know. So the environment has got to get healthier. And I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up on the prospect of things getting better, because you cannot quit. You cannot quit, you know, before the miracle happens. And I do believe in miracles. I've seen many things that look like a lost cause be turned around. And when I say the prayer at the beginning of this program, it's not just for show. It's because on In the Upper Room, we are a spiritual program. And we believe that God does use us. And we also believe that God sometimes gives us prophetic words to share with you. And we're honored and humbled to be able to do that with you.